Let's talk about the pros and cons of working in the mutual fund sector. I'll kick it off with job security. Because you're long-term focused on stocks, management should hopefully be long-term focused on you as a mutual fund analyst. A negative, though, is that the yearly compensation can be much lower than a hedge fund. And I underline the word yearly there on purpose because in the long run, you can make a lot more money at a mutual fund, potentially, than a hedge fund, right? And there's less career turnover as well. Great example of this is an awesome firm here in California called Capital. And in the long run, if you're at Capital, you can make a fortune. And so if you want to go into the mutual fund industry, please try and pick the best fit for you and be long-term focused, be long-term greedy with your career. Try to spend your entire career, if you can, in the mutual fund industry at one company. Now, there's also an opportunity to rotate and cover other sectors, which is cool because at Fidelity, for example, you can cover different sectors as an analyst every 2 years. And if you cover different sectors, then when you get promoted from analyst to portfolio manager, you'll be more suited and ready to kick butt in that role. On the negative side, though, there's less turnover, meaning less opportunity for promotion. If your boss never leaves, right, and is long-term focused on her or his career there, you might never get promoted. And by the way, don't be in a rush to get promoted from analyst to portfolio manager, okay? Because you can't go back. Once you make portfolio manager, you can't go back to analyst, right? It's more difficult, right? And don't take on too much risk earlier in your career with that. Don't push to get promoted. Be patient. Learn from working for portfolio managers. Learn from their mistakes. Learn what to do as well. Learn from them, right? Otherwise, if you make portfolio manager too early in your career, you're basically given too much rope and enough rope to hang yourself. Now, there's usually fewer hours in the mutual fund industry as well, right? You don't have to worry about trying to make money in a short amount of time. You're long-term focused, fewer hours, easier standard of living. It can be boring, though, for impatient people, right? If you're very transaction focused, like you like to trade a lot or whatever it is, this is not an industry for you, or at least mutual funds is not for you. On the positive side, it's a much more collegial corporate culture. There's much more teamwork at a mutual fund. On the negative side, though, it can be very bureaucratic, as these are often huge companies, right? So think of big government agencies or big companies. They can be bureaucratic just because there's too many people, right? I always believe that a couple of guys or girls in a garage can change the world, right? They can beat big companies. But it can be slow working at a big mutual fund, to be honest, and bureaucratic. And lastly, you're much more marketable if you work for a mutual fund, because if you work for a hedge fund and you work for too many hedge funds in a short amount of time, even if it's out of your control, you'll just be less marketable. You're more marketable if you have one job for a long time in the mutual fund sector.